Now, if you're a parent, you're going to be able to relate to my story and what I was going through at this moment in time. Well, actually what my entire family was going through. You see, I have 2 twin sons. When they both made 12 years old, we started travel baseball. Now, I don't know how much you know about the whole travel baseball industry, but it is a freaking industry. When I was a kid and when I grew up, you went to the local park, you played baseball. The park had hired coaches, professional coaches who coached year round. They taught you how to play baseball. You traveled around from park to play baseball against people in your city. Now, the way it works today is if you want your kids to actually get better, they have to play travel baseball. We're talking about $3,000 per kid to be on a team. And then the strenuous demands on your time. We're talking about practices on Monday evenings, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and every now and then a Sunday. And this is before the season starts. When the season starts, it's practice every day of the week. And then you have to travel out of town to play games almost 2 times out of the month. So when my sons joined this travel baseball team, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that our traditional family summer plans were just thrown out of the window. They weren't going to happen. Our whole lives were going to revolve around this baseball team. When you also add in the fact that there are a bunch of pompous, rich assholes who put their kids on these teams, and I'm not really that type of guy, it made the situation even worse. Now, traditionally, what our family did at the beginning of summer was we went hiking, camping, and fishing. Being from Little Rock, Arkansas, we would always head up to hot springs, hang out, and just enjoy ourselves. Now, normally, this camping trip would be an entire week. It was our vacation out in nature, relaxing, bonding with each other. But because of travel baseball, it was condensed down to only a weekend. So we head out to Hot Springs National Forest. Now, to be clear with you, my family doesn't camp in tents. We have our own RV. So we pull up to our camp spot in the RV, get set up, and everything is going decent. You know, I was a tad bit agitated because I knew that by the time we set up, it was going to be time to go. But nonetheless, I was able to calm myself down and just try to enjoy the moment. Now, where we traditionally camp, there's 7 other campgrounds, and they kind of snake around through the woods. The locations are close enough that if you needed help and someone was screaming for help, that you could go and get to them. But they're just far enough to be an inconvenience and stop somebody from walking in on you. So the first night we're out there, Friday night, everything is quiet. We got a campfire going, hanging out, talking, listening to music. 11 o'clock rolls around. We all head inside and go to sleep. The next morning we come out, make breakfast. The whole family goes hiking, and we're truly enjoying ourselves. Now, as the sun was going down on Saturday night was when the weirdness started. And I'm talking about weird things I never experienced before in my life while being out in the woods. My sons come running up to me saying, "Daddy, there's some lights out there in the woods. There's lights out there in the woods." So I follow their lead to the edge of this tree line, and sure enough, it looks like someone's holding 2 lanterns walking through the woods. But the problem was that these lanterns are like 9 feet in the air. That means Shaquille O'Neal would have had to been walking around in the woods with a light on top of his head. That was the very first weird thing that we saw. Then 15 minutes later, we start to see these orbs of light moving through the trees less than 15 feet away from us. Now I'm talking about tiny balls of light just floating around. At first I thought they could have been bugs, but the closer you look, no, it was a freaking orb of light. Then that's when you start to hear the shooting off in the distance. And when I mean off in the distance, it's not coming from the direction of the campgrounds whatsoever. It's coming from way off in the distance, and it's automatic gunfire. And I'm telling you, they was letting loose out there in those woods. So now my wife is saying, "Babe, it's way too much craziness going out here. Let's just pack up and go home." And for a moment, we're standing there going back and forth. I'm explaining to her that this is our last chance for a summer vacation. She's explaining to me that she didn't see it that way, that the simple fact that we had to travel all around the nation for baseball meant that we were going to have multiple vacations. Now, she goes on to say, "Honey, you just won't be able to go camping, hiking, and fishing. But we as a family are going to be doing a lot together this summer. It's just not going to be exactly what you want us to do." Now, as the two of us are going back and forth discussing this, not necessarily arguing, our sons are in the RV relaxing and chilling. That's when these dudes come out of the woods in full special ops gear. I'm talking about night vision, plate carrier vests, sidearms, rifles, full freaking gear. They pop up out of nowhere. And as they are walking past us with their rifles pointed, one of them turns and looks at us and says, "You two, take your family and get out of here right now. You do not want to be in this spot within the next 30 minutes. Now listen, it's 6 of these guys. They move past us like we do not factor in. We do not count. That one is the only one that addresses us. And then they move back off into the darkness. My wife and I are sitting there looking at each other like, what in the fuck is going on out here? And listen to me when I tell you something. That was the end of the freaking discussion. We grabbed what we could and got the hell up out of there. Now get this. We get back home. Everything's fine. No issues, no nothing. It's a Wednesday evening. All 4 of us are in the vehicle headed to the Wednesday evening baseball practice. When one of my sons says, "Dad, you remember those military men who were at the campground with the night vision goggles? They were so freaking cool, right?" Now understand, we didn't realize that our children had saw this because they were inside the RV. We were the only 2 outside. Then he goes on to say, yeah, there was one of them that was super duper tall and muscular. He was so tall that he squatted down, looked through the window of the RV, and put his finger over his lips and told us to be quiet.
Welcome back to the Dark Waters. Mind you, this is a place for adults only. If you are suffering from arrested development, this is not the place for you. To be clear, it's okay. We understand that you may have some extreme emotional defects based on past trauma, but that is not our problem, it's yours. So be warned, do not swim in the dark waters. This is not the place for you. For everyone else, welcome. Here, the depths of knowledge and wisdom are only limited by the God of heaven. The stories are true and vetted, and they are extremely entertaining. Enjoy your swim in the dark waters.
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through water obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of gold. Stack that bread and by my nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through water obstacles, cause anything is possible.
Let me start by saying there are different levels of obesity and fatness. There's like morbid fatness, the kind where you can't get out of the bed. Then there's that lazy fat, the guy who has a body made like jello with no muscle, but he's still functional. Then there's Bruce fat. You see, Bruce played tight end in college, got married, had kids, got that dad bod, then took it a step further and started trying to work on himself. But even though Bruce was overweight, he wasn't out of shape because he always lifted weights. Rest in peace. If Bruce was standing in front of you right now, he would look fat until some went down and he didn't perform like a fat person. For example, I seen him break up a fight one night, right? We're at his friend's restaurant having drinks. We're sitting at the bar. These 2 dudes start arguing. A fight breaks out. His friend, the owner, tries to break up the fight, gets punched in the nose, blood goes everywhere. And I watch Fat Bruce jump over a table and kick one of those dudes in the chest like motherfucking Jet Li. Yeah, that was my man Fat Bruce. Well, them vaccines came out and Fat Bruce took that safe and effective 80% deadly to black men shot and passed away of a damn heart attack. Our Dogman encounter happened in 2020. The world was locked down and Bruce and I went fishing. You see, he was tired of people telling him what to do. Dad shut his job down. His wife was tripping because she was scared. And his family, like most black families, were 100% brainwashed by MSNBC and CNN, so they were scared to go outside the damn house. They weren't even going to church. Imagine a scene. The 2 of us are out on my boat fishing, and the fish are not biting. I'm ready to go, and Bruce says he wants to stay and chill because there's absolutely nothing to do when we get back to land. So he pulls this map out of his pocket, asks me to drive the boat, and next thing you know, we are twisting and turning and weaving through these canals and come to this lake. We get the rods out, get the lines baited, toss them lines in the water, and man, sure enough, them fish are hitting. Every type of fish you could want is biting. So now the two of us are catching fish, but not paying attention to the time. Next thing you know, it's getting close to 4 p.m., 2 hours before the sun goes down, and this fool is literally off the boat walking on this little island fishing. I tell him, Bruce, we need to go, get your back on the boat. But he's like, nah, man, I want to catch some catfish. Understand, we had already hit our limit on redfish and trout. So now this dude is fishing for catfish. Bruce looks at me and says, listen, just troll along the edge of the island, drop it, and see if you can catch us some catfish. If we get one big catfish, I'm ready to go. Again, I tell him, bro, it's getting late. We need to go. Come on, man. We got all these fish. We don't need no more fish. We got to clean all this when we get home. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. You think you Black Troy Landry, you want to sit here and fish on this stupid island? I'm going to go ahead and leave. So I turn the trolling motor on and start going around this island. Imagine the scene. I'm riding along, casting my line. 10 minutes later, I'm on the other side of the island and I hear this damn roar. Now, to be clear with you, I couldn't tell you what it was that was roaring, but I knew that whatever the hell it wasn't normal. I freeze for about a solid 2-3 minutes listening, and then it dawns on me. Bruce is on this same damn island where this sound is coming from. Now, right as I'm going to crank up the main engine, I hear this sound like something or someone is running through the trees and the bushes on this island. Understand, it's August here in Louisiana, and the trees and brush on that island are thick, so thick that only a mosquito could get through it. But something big is breaking through that and running. I'm thinking it's a hog, but seconds later I realize it's Fat Bruce because I hear him screaming, Red, stop the boat, Red, stop the boat. Listen, looking at the direction my man is running full speed, jumping over down trees, knocking over saplings, running through mud puddles. He looks a mess. I pull up right to the edge of the island where he is. He jumps into the boat, rocking it, damn near knocking me out into the water, gets behind the wheel, and drives us away from this island. As he's driving us away, he looks crazy as he is there rambling on about this mud-covered creature that tried to get him. But my dude is talking so crazy and the rain's just not registering in my mind. However, one thing that is registering in my mind is the fact that Bruce has no clue where the fuck he's taking us. He is dipping and darting and turning in all kinds of directions. 10 to 15 minutes later, bro, we are officially lost in this damn swamp. Listen, I done got him to calm down, but he ain't talking about why he was running like a madman. Understand, this man came running to the boat. No fishing pole, no bait bucket, and only one damn shoe. So now I turn my attention to getting us out of the swamp because the sun is quickly going down. And up ahead on the right, there's this house. You know, one of those swamp house on stilts. So I pull up, start blowing a horn on the boat. My intentions are to get direction. This man comes out of the house with a freaking shotgun. I'm like, whoa, buddy, we just stopped by to get some direction. The man is on the porch looking paranoid as fuck, and the first two words that come out of his mouth are, why are you out here in the swamps? It's getting dark. So I explain to him that we're lost and we need help. He looks over at Fat Bruce, and my man is staring off into fucking infinity and beyond. Then he looks at me and says, what the hell is wrong with Big Man? So I tell him he saw something down here in these swamps that got him spooked. The man that I'm talking to gotta be in his late 60s, early 70s, one of those men that talk slow, and he says, well, there's all kinds of terrifying things in these swamps. Let me draw you a map to get you out of here. Then he turns around, goes inside, comes back out of the house with a pen and an AARP envelope, and proceeds to draw for us the route from his house out of the swamp. Then he circles these areas on his little map and says, when you come close to these canals, stay away from the land masses because that's where the mud dogs are. Man, listen, when the word mud dogs came out of his mouth, Fat Bruce jumps up in the boat, says, that's what I saw. It was 600 pounds covered in mud. Big head like a bear, long snout. Then there's this awkward silence as the old man looks at Bruce and looks at me. Then looks at Bruce and looks at me. That's when Bruce speaks again, saying that it chased him off of that island. Listen, understand, the entire time we've been talking to this man, yes, he had the shotgun in his hand, but he was cool, calm, and cordial. But when he heard what Bruce said, he literally threw that envelope at me and said, listen, you boys need to get the hell from back up in here and go on about your business. Gone now, gone. I'm talking about 180-degree change in personality. So we leave, follow his map, and sure enough, it brings us right past the place where Fat Bruce just saw that thing. 15 minutes later, we are pulling up at the boat launch, and Fat Bruce is still not talking to me. I'm doing everything, cracking jokes, messing with him, trying to get him to talk, but my man wouldn't say. Get this, 2 days after our fishing trip, he finally starts to tell me what happened. We're sitting in my living room and he's like, bro, I was there fishing on the bank. I had a fish on a line and I was moving down the bank, stepped into this mud hole. Or so he thought it was a mud hole. He says, but then something growled and my right foot started to move. And I realized I wasn't stepping into mud. I was stepping on something covered in mud. This big brother starts to cry and says, bro, it was like this big mud-covered, bareheaded wolf. No, it's not over. Get this. He goes on to explain to me that he must have stepped on like its hind leg or its side because he saw its head pop up out of the mud, turn and look over its shoulder at him. And he said that's when it growled and roared at him. Scared my boy so much he left everything and ran. He said, Red, I knew you was on the other side of this island, so I just took off running, lost my shoe, hit my head on tree limbs. Everything inside of me felt like it was going to get me and it was going to eat me. Imagine the scene. He's sitting on my sofa. I'm sitting across from him on a love seat, and I explained to him, Bruce, I saw you running, but nothing was chasing you, man. But he goes on explaining to me that he was so frightened and scared running through those trees and brush that he decided if I was not on the other side, that he was literally diving into the swamp. And I need you to understand how significant what he was saying is. We were not in the swamps near somebody's backyard. We were way out in the middle of nowhere in the swamps full of moccasins, 13, 14-foot alligators. This man was so scared that he was going to dive into that instead of staying on dry land. And what I'm about to tell you right now is what I loved about Fat Bruce. Because he tells me this entire story, has a meltdown right there on my living room sofa. Then that crazy bastard asked me when we were going to go fishing again. Yeah, that was Fat Bruce, my homie, my dog. Rest in peace, Rest in peace.